We are live.
We could just roll into some.
We can get cracking into some questions. All right, we are not doing a warm up. We're going to get into some questions straight away. Do I need this mic? I do, because we're going up there, aren't we? We're going upstairs. Okay, give it to me. What's up?
247 Charlie asked how to be a top apprentice.
Yeah, look, it's cool because I know when I first started my time, it's like, does it say how many years? Like, as in, doesn't say, okay.
It just says top apprentice.
Yeah, look, I think you obviously, your challenges, the first 2 years, most apprentices just cost me money. Like, that's it. So if you're an employer sitting there going, well, I want a first-year apprentice to make me money by month 6, it's going to be devastating. And so, I think what you can do, it depends on the type of boss you get too, right? Because you can, like, the whole chemistry thing is super tricky, and you've really got to enjoy working with and for your boss. But I think what you want to do is you understand, like my old man said to me, he says, you've got to work your ass off. And I'm not saying being taken advantage of, although I may have been taken advantage of. Work your ass off until you've got something of value to give. And I think that was really all my goal is to be valued. Now, was there any guarantees that I was going to get valued by the guy that I was working for first? No, absolutely not. Did I feel valued even all the way through my apprenticeship? Not terribly. But if he didn't want me and he thought I was a waste of space, he probably would have given me marching orders anyway. So I think you've just got to have the attitude that you're there to serve. You're not there to get ripped off or get taken advantage of, but I would ask you to be patient and just watch what happens. But understand it's very much about the company culture. So, if that boss happens to ask you to do some shit that's sketchy, you really got to ask yourself, do I want to learn from this person going forward? I demand a lot of my team here, but I'd like to think that I'm a reasonably good human being at the same time. So that's what I would say. Have go above and beyond a little bit. Like, don't go working Saturdays for free, that sort of shit. My boss would give me a 25 or 30% pay increase to work on a Sunday, and he'd always say to me, Max, just think of the money. And so I did, and I come and work Sunday, and it was good. And I was making $50 a day, just throwing that out there as well. So, I hope that helps. Next question.
Tanner T8 asked, tips for keeping organized as a GC that is in a role of an estimator and project coordinator.
Okay. Right. So estimator and project coordinator, dude, that's a good question because it's your attention to detail in that position that really does make or break. I mean, the estimator that I had on, and he was a buddy of mine, he'd worked for me as a carpenter for, several years, and he come in and didn't, we did $1 million plus project and he missed the ceramic tiles. It was like $9,000. It wasn't a big deal, but he literally missed it. And, I think it's that our systems weren't as good as what they should be, or his assessment of the project wasn't complete, something like that. So, I think what helps is I would assume, Tanner, that you're using some sort of software. I don't know if you want to chime in real quick, but look, let's just assume you're using Buildertrend. Then it has the ability to build templates, but then, I can mesh the technology with a general contractor, and if he's not tech savvy, he is going to actually find using software super frustrating. But he needs to learn. And I'm assuming that you're going to have access to software, because if you're still doing it, spreadsheets on Excel, and you're still presenting proposals on Word document, you're never going to grow a big business off the back of that. But in your position, like, good estimators are like gold. So, if that's a craft that you've actually embarked on, then we want to make sure that, you're actually working at that craft like a ninja. So educate yourself around, really top or advanced estimating type approaches. I know that I did a basics in estimating probably back in 2010 with one of the industry associations, but there was an advanced one that I could have gone to, which I didn't. So definitely they would actually shed. And you know what I went through 10 years ago in basics in estimating, we barely had software that was accessible, that was affordable, and I was a little business, so I didn't really, I actually went and got a thing called, not Buildertrend, it was something else, Buildercost, I think it was called, and the developer actually was friends with that association. So that would be what I'd say. Get organized, stay organized, have good digital systems, and then set benchmarks. Make sure you're not spending too much time on estimates. You've got to get it done expeditiously as well as efficiently and accurately. So it's very much a skill set that's going to develop over time, Tanner. Hope that helps. Next question.
VDNXM asks, pros and cons on becoming a custom semi-production builder. Which one do you prefer?
Look, I think, it really, I'll be honest, it really doesn't matter which I prefer. I like to think that I was super comfortable in new homes, custom homes, because I had grown up in and around that. And then what my boss did is he went down a more of an investor track. He was selling spec homes, and he went down more of an investor track. And then we'd find ourselves working on, 50 to 100 50 to 100 townhouse sites. And he would build between 500 and 1,000 of those a year. So I found myself really busy doing townhouses. So it was great. I did my apprenticeship with a builder, which means I got access to all the scope of work because we do fences and landscaping, a whole 9 yards. And then, we went into the townhouse thing, and that gave me more exposure to more of a commercial approach to building. And now, and then when I got my builder's license, I got in with Smith & Sons in Australia and focused on renovation. So I've been blessed enough to have a decent exposure to all of those. But really what I would say is some guys will go, I ain't doing renos for nothing. I'm a new home, operator. I ain't touching renos. It really comes down, to yourself as to what you're going to focus on. I think it's easier to systemize a custom home, but I think the profit margins potentially in renos are better. So really just you got to figure out, what works for you. And you know what? Just don't be afraid to try shit. Go and do renos and see if you could really systemize that approach. Make sure your markups are probably, starting at 45% on materials and labor. Make sure that I'm talking fixed price. I don't do cost plus. So yeah, we had a post out this week about cost plus versus fixed price.
Interesting. A lot of people said cost plus.
Yep, and that's because we're in North America. Yeah. Yep, I would find a very small percentage of guys down under, or maybe in New Zealand they would come in. They do a little bit of cost plus there as well. So, it's very individual. So, we're watching Instagram as well for questions, aren't we?
Yeah,
team?
This is the first question from Instagram.
Sweet, let's go.
It's from Rap. I do bathroom renos. How can I grow?
One project at a time, one day at a time. That's Raphael Lauren, right? He might get called Rap for short. I don't know.
I'm sorry. I was typing it down super quickly.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so look, if you're doing bathroom renos, what I like about bathroom renos is you've got a very solid control over the projects. If you're quoting 50 bathrooms, you're going to have your hands full. I tell you what you might do is, I don't know how big the business could grow unless you start doing volume on bathrooms. You might start looking at bathrooms and kitchens. Bathrooms are a little bit quicker to go to contract. In other words, I can get through a lot of that design detail and quoting process in a short amount of time because I've got such good historical data. But then, for kitchens, they take a little bit more outsourcing. I might need an interior designer. The design phase by the cabinet maker might take a bit longer. And then, of course, the pricing side of things, getting my quotes in or my bids from my suppliers and my subs, that might take a bit longer. But I would say that'd be the next stepping stone. And then, this is why I'd say to you guys and gals is that, developing these businesses, these construction companies, is not like you just do one thing at a time. It's literally like rounding up kittens. You do have to focus on multiple moving parts that actually add value to your business as you move forward. You just cannot afford to take your eye off any of it. And I'm talking about really, your sales, your marketing, so your messaging, your sales process, your ability to develop good company culture, your ability to recruit good talent, your ability to estimate accurately, and your ability to really deliver deliver the construction or the project at the highest level where the customers, and then your after sales where you've actually turned your clients into a raving fan. And now you want to, get a video testimonial to put on your website, because there's nothing better to help you do sales than having one of your past clients talk to one of your prospective clients, and it cuts me, the builder, out. And there's a lot of belief, that goes into when a client's actually watching one of your videos. So that's kind of, there's two things there for you, Raphael, is that go bathrooms and kitchens, but then there's also the business side that needs developing. It needs your close attention as well. So I'd say this: dream big, start small, systemize everything, and make sure you're being positive and you're accepting everything, both the accolades and the faults. If there's anything that goes wrong, I've got to take responsibility, because then I have the right to the solution. Let's go.
VDNXM again. He asked, I am a countertop fabricator / installer. What do you look for in a countertop company?
So he is a countertop installer?
Fabricator / installer.
Right. So what's he looking for? How do I tell?
What do you look for in a countertop company?
Yeah, look, I think everything that I just pointed out. So, you know, for me to run a building company, like I just explained to Raphael, it's like those things I want, you know, I'm going to deliver those in my business and to my clients. I'm going to treat my business and my clients and everyone within that ecosystem that way. I need that from all of my subs, not just countertop suppliers. So it's the same thing that I might have mentioned at the start. You know, you don't want to be, you know, raped as far as, you know, you're just somebody's bitch. You don't want to be that. But what you want to do is to make sure that there is this mutual understanding that, hey, you know, if I'm the countertop installer or supplier and installer, I want to serve the general contractor as best I can, because I want him to value my service, because that might then give me the ability to make a few dollars more, because he weighs it up and says, well, I can go down the road and get cheaper, but this guy here, he gives me better service, so I'm going to happy to pay him a few more cents a foot or whatever your pricing mechanism is. So always think, don't even as a sub, don't compete on price as much. I know it's a little bit more difficult because all the competitors are priced about the same. So what you need to do is demonstrate better value in the service. And I think that's where builders go. When I ring this guy, he gets back to me if he doesn't get the call. You know, he quotes quickly, he installs cleanly. He, always does it in accordance with his quote. There's never any overages. And if there is, he communicates very well. He's very professional. He doesn't get all emotional and carry on. Like, they're the qualities. Because I've got to deal with so many clients, let's say as a general contractor. If I get some, freaking countertop installed, I got to freaking babysit, like, we're done. Like, it's like, this is it, man, and we're done. Because I just don't need the head trouble, right? So it's a balance, right? I hope that answers that question for you. What's next?
What advice?
Which was this? Is this Insta still?
This is our.
Oh yeah. Okay. Go.
Questions.
Yep. Got it.
What advice do you give What's your advice to contractors that have customers that are past due on bills?
So if we got clients that haven't paid, look, I mean, there's a couple of different ways, and it depends on, if you feel threatened by that. I don't know what's happened up to the point where, you've all of a sudden you've got a client that's not paying. It helps if you've got a contract. Obviously, if you've got something in writing that really designates at what point you're going to, you're going to ask for the money, and you've got to make sure that you actually have got that project to a certain level. I think there's a couple of ways. I think, try with honey first. Try and understand where the client's coming from. So what I'm talking about, I often talk about applying empathy in the sales process. What I would say in your, let's call it debt collection for want of a better term, let's apply some empathy in your debt collection process as well. Let's go to the clients and go, hey, look, I this bill's been with you for a week, hasn't been paid yet. I really want to understand, what the challenge is and what can I do to maybe get this, because I really can't continue on the project, and I certainly don't want to stop your project. I just want to understand where you're coming from, and maybe if there's a hold up with the banks perhaps, or, you lost your checkbook, or I don't know what. Just don't be taking too many excuses, because, buyers can be liars. And so, then if that fails and it becomes more of an irritation because now you're at loggerheads, you got to consider, we recommend a certain debt collection company if it gets that far. But if it's mid-construction, that's a bad move. And if it's, if it's at the end, you really want to try to liaise with the client and come about a good solution without having to go legal. Legal would be a last resort. That's what I would say.
Helmet Head 101.
Welcome back, Helmet Head. Yeehaw.
Are we going to see a crash in the construction or a recession? Oh,
listen to this guy. He thinks I'm Nostradamus. Clearly I am not, and I have no clue. So that's a really easy one to answer. What I would say I don't know if I had these conversations before the last TikTok live or whatever, but this week I was definitely chatting with someone, and we talked about, what do renovations do, in the case if there's a recession or not. Now, the reason I go down that path is because it doesn't really, I'm not really completely interested or concerned, although I have got one eye on the situation. And the reason why I'm not completely concerned and I've only got one eye on it, not two, is that what I find is that renovations particularly, now if you do custom homes, yes, if the inflation goes up and all of a sudden interest rate prices are up, people aren't going to be going financing. What you'll find they're going to do, and to my point, what they're going to do is they're going to go, well, I've got great equity in my home that I've got. I just need to remodel that basement, and it would make an awesome media room. And so what I'm saying is that when interest rates go up and the new home market softens because of maybe, it just becomes expensive, people look at their collateral, their asset, and they say, you know what, I could probably drop 50 grand's worth of, construction or renovation and actually still double my money, right? So, and then of course, when new homes do go up and it's booming, the same thing happens. Because what happens is the housing prices, like they kind of are at the moment, that goes up, and of course that inflates the prices of people's established homes. And guess what they do? You know what? I got some brilliant equity. I'm going to go and drop 100 grand. So that's really that's my opinion. It's worth what you just paid for it. Don't burn me at the stake. But that's my idea. So I hope that helps. Helmet head.
John sent us a bunch of roses again. So maybe just
Legend.
Johnny's back in Melbourne, obviously. John. Sending me roses. I don't know what that's about,
That's
but
money.
I appreciate it. That sounds like I'm getting told that's money in the bank.
We made 80 cents, man.
80 cents. Hoo-ha.
Yeah.
Love it. Righto. Good on your helmet head. Hello, Jono. Good to see you again, man. Hope you had a good birthday week. Hope you got treated well, if you know what I mean. Righto. Let's go. Next question. Why are you laughing, Jill? This is how builders talk. This is totally how builders talk. I've got a very professional creative director over here who's completely amused by the bullshit that's coming out of my mouth right now, but it's all good. Next question, and where from? Go ahead.
The Forrest Standy asked, why does it seem the cost of everything is... Let me say that again. Why does it seem the cost of everything but labor rates is going up?
Yeah, look, here's another one. And again, this is just my opinion because I'm an old boy and I've been around for 33 years in the game. I would ask that a lot. I'm like, why is it that my square foot rate or my hourly rate or whatever doesn't go up? Now, here's the thing I'll throw out to you guys. My view on it. Now, look, this is why when like with Smith & Sons, what we're trying to do is we're trying to be a bougie, boutique, top shelf, white glove building company, right? Now, it's the theory, which kind of works okay at the moment, and it does for 8 of my GCs, is that they, because clients want, what we're doing is re-engineering the experience. So I'm kind of going the long way around. We're re-engineering the client experience. And therefore, what happens is when people start to understand that re-engineering of the process, whether that's sales and construction or construction, they start going, actually, I think I would actually rather Smith & Sons, even though they're not the cheapest on the block. I kind of love the whole package, right? And so what our builders, then what I do is when I talk to my builders, because they're all happy about marking up 45 and 50% and, like making, a lot more money than the average builder. What I say to them, I'm saying, hey guys, you've just promised said client that you're going to deliver at the highest level. Now, if you've got monkeys working for you that you're paying in peanuts, what do you think the construction experience is going to be for both the builder and the homeowner? So, in a perfect world, the goal is to be what I call a sought-after employer. So all of our team, for the most part, I think, have in Canada what we call extended medical. So it covers dental and all that sort of stuff. And so, all my office staff are covered under the same policy. So, what they're saying is, well, I enjoy, because it's got a good culture, I love working for XYZ general contractor, and there's a few perks that go with it. And honestly, he's actually probably the best guy or gal to be working for in the marketplace. And so that's, that doesn't explain why. Well, it does. Because if you're a builder and you've got guys working for you and you're just competing on price, then what you're going to find is that you're going to have this much margin and you're not going to be able to get the right talent to work for your building company. And therefore, your building process is completely freaking just disjointed and frustrating. So just think about that, guys. But you do not turn that ship around in 5 minutes. You've got to start thinking about your brand and how you sell and how you demonstrate value to justify the fact that, okay, they don't just say they're a bougie, boutique, top shelf, white glove company, but they actually deliver a service at the highest level. So I don't know where he was coming from he or she was coming from as it relates to whether he was a general or whether he was a subcontractor. But that just gives a bit of a context understanding of what builders are up against because they're limited by their own thinking. I'm not limited. I know I can go in 45 to 50% markup. I can create enough operational capital to attract the right guys. I can pay them the extended medical, et cetera. Let's go.
So that was the Forrest and I. He just corrected you.
Forrest and I.
He's been joined quite a few lives.
Right.
So.
Let's get their names right, folks.
My
apologies.
Yeah.
That's my fault, right? My guys can't speak English, so I got to fix that shit. I'm sorry. We'll do better next time. Forrest and I, cheers, big ears. I appreciate it.
Okay, now I don't want to say this one wrong.
Okay.
Alir Arts asks, what's a good pathway to becoming a builder?
Look, I look, again, I'll say what I probably would say every time is that I was over a friend's place. She said to me that she had, a brother-in-law who was looking for an apprentice carpenter. She said, do you want me to, ring him up and ask him? And I said yes. And then I got a job on Monday and I went back to tech college and told him to stick that where the sun don't shine. And on Wednesday I was back on a building site and I was off to the races and the rest is history. So I don't know. I couldn't really speak to what is because I don't know you as a person. And so that's got a lot to do with it because, I've got 6 kids, right? And I can push buttons at different levels depending on the personality. And so for you as an individual, you're going to want to, be handled a certain way. So you might not, there were some personalities that couldn't work for the guy that I did my apprenticeship with because he was a hard ass. Fortunately, my old man grew up on 3,000 acres he was a sheep and wheat farmer. So even though I grew up in the suburbs, he kicked my ass around that, quarter acre allotment, savage, made me work and made me go and earn my, I didn't get no such thing as handouts. And so I grew up with a good work ethic. So when I got into the building game with this hard-nosed guy, it really did, stood me in good stead. And he did say to me, you just head down and keep working until you're worth something. So, it really depends on your mindset. That's what it has a lot to do with, not necessarily. And what you need to do is if you get all those ducks personally, internally, like head and heart, all in alignment, what you'll find is the universe will open up something for you. Because for me, I just went over a friend's place on a Sunday night with a whole bunch of buddies and all of a sudden we got talking about, hey, what are you going to do? Well, what are you doing? What are you going to do when you leave tech college? And it just come up in conversation. And so that's the serendipitous nature of success, let's say in the building game. That's what I would say. I can't speak to any other industry, but the way my life's gone, for me to have the business partners that I have is unfreaking believable. And maybe I should get those guys on the podcast one day.
For sure.
But that's what I would say. You just worry about you, stay in your lane, work hard, be optimistic, don't be patient as well. That's what I would say. Dream big and you'll make something of it. And don't underestimate what you do in 5 years. It's super important. Too many of us want to get it done by Christmas, and it's just a bullshit, business development program or career development program. Next question. Thanks for the question, by the way. Appreciate it.
Winston Redfawn asked, I'm studying residential drafting. Do you have any advice for me once I complete my course?
Look, I think, Winston, what you're going to want to figure out is, do you want to, I don't know what happens around when you finish drafting. Do you go into more of an architect route? And the other question is, this is why all of my advice is all conditional because I don't know you. Are you an entrepreneur and you want to run your own architectural firm one day? Is that it? I think a lot of the time for young guys and girls starting out, you have to get into position with someone that you can learn from, which means if you're young and maybe if you're not young, the same principle applies. You've got to make sure your overheads personally are down. Like if I've got a youngster that's driving a $50,000 pickup truck and he's like, what do I do to get into the construction game? I want to make money. The first thing you do is get rid of that freaking truck and buy something that's affordable because odds on is you need to invest every dime that you've got into your career or your business to get started. Don't go buying shit with money that you can't afford, the things that you don't need to impress people who don't even give a shit. So just try and so it's all about self-awareness, and I think you've got to be secure in yourself. I drove a 20-year-old pickup truck running this company with CEO on my business card until my business partner said, Max, it's super embarrassing. You need to get yourself a new truck. And I'm like, okay, but we'd been at it for 3 years or something by then. And so it was time. So that's my advice. I can't give you micro data on how to go from doing a drafting course, and then furthering your career. What I can do is just give you some mental, context to understand how you should react to certain things and what you should be open to. Because, like in 3 years, you might hate drafting. Who knows, right? I'm in Canada now. That wasn't part of the plan. That's the missus. She decided she wanted to move here, not me. We won't get started on that. All right, next question. Thanks for that. What's that?
Forrest and I chimed in and said running a business is a long game, not a short game.
Thanks, Forrest and I. Spot on. Good advice.
And then big old scumbag just dropped into Sam, busy on the tools today, but have a good weekend, big sauce.
Good on you, big old scumbag. You have a great day on the tools, man. Go and kick ass and build a big business.
Yeah.
Sweet as. All righty. That's great. We've got another. Let's go.
Garrison85 asked, almost at the end of a commercial project, how to handle change orders?
Well, if you're at the end of it, now this tells me I'd love to have a conversation with Garrison, because my first question is, are you telling me you've gone through this whole commercial project without one single change order? And that would mean you're on cost plus contract, you're not on fixed price. Because unless it just so happens that you've worked right to the end and all of a sudden there's a change order right at the back end of the project. What I say is, let's say that you were on fixed price and you did use software. It's super easy. We go in there, we give them basically a change order that's a quotation, that's basically in a pending state. When they obviously look at it and they sign it, whether it's digitally or hard copy, we move that then to accepted. And then what it does is it adds the money for that change order to the contract, and then I can invoice against that change order. So it's all super easy. Like, yeah, I'll do them stand on my head. But just back up from that, you got to make sure, let's say it's a fixed price. In our contracts, we explain, it's a half-page clause that talks about our change order policy. So a lot of guys have trouble because they don't manage, or they don't set boundaries with clients, and they don't manage expectations, right? And so when we talk about it and we get them to initial that section in the contract as well, that and the payment schedule, just by the way, so they can basically say, well, yep, Max run me through all of the change order protocol and process and policy. I understand that. I initialed it. We're off to the races. And that includes a fee. So how you handle the back end, again, depends on the size of the project, depends on the scope of work we're talking about, depends on the dollar value for the scope of work, depends on how my client's sitting. You know, have they had an extraordinary experience so far and they're happy as? What I would say is, this is what I'd say. I'd say tread carefully and be gentle. That's what I would say. But you need to make sure that you've got shit in writing, because if it's not in writing, it doesn't exist. So you cannot pull, this change order out the back end and just like, I hope they're okay to pay it. Because I'm telling you, if you're on a commercial project, I know you're dealing with a business owner. And what do business owners look at? The bottom line. Why should I give that guy any more money? That's going to be the challenge. So I know, again, doesn't give you the micro data that you want, but it gives you a little bit of context around what you've got to look for. So, okay, and I'm getting the, yep, is that good? Yep. Good on, is that Garrett? That was Garrison, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Cheers, Garrison. Hope that helps, buddy.
Nutsack is back.
Nutsack is back.
He said, hey, mate, happy Friday. Loving your vibes, bro.
Yeah, peace. Appreciate the love. Awesome. Good that you could make it.
Tarman asked, how do you continue your business when you're physically injured and you're not able to do the labor?
Yeah. I've got actually one guy in my group right now who he's got a back condition where he couldn't pull on an airbag even if he had to. I think that takes a lot more stealth now, because see, for me, even in the, I'm 250 pounds. I don't know what that is, probably 115, 118 kilos. Even for me, I could put the bag on and I could go and do a day's framing. That would be challenging to keep doing that because I'm so old and so unfit. But if you've got a physical injury that really does prohibit you from actually going and doing anything from demo to framing to drywalling or whatever, and you're purely administration and sales, you've really got to have a good eye for detail. Now you're a business owner for real, because you can't go and bail yourself out. So what you've got to look at, you've got to look at everything. You've got to systemize everything. Then you get to a point where you've systemized everything, you're doing everything. Now what you need to do is onboard. Can I have another water if you're right, Jill? And we need another, you need to be able to onboard. I've got one. Perfect. You need to onboard good people. So that means you've got to now be a leader that develops a company culture, and you've got to be a good talent scout. And you've just got to be able to, fire people kindly when the time is right without delay, because I've just seen too many builders that spend way too much money on projects because they felt like they couldn't get another helper. And that really does, potentially can take a building company down if you're not watching. So again, I can't tell you where to go tomorrow or what to do. What I'm trying to do is what I do to my damn kids. I'm like, I can't be with you all the time, but what I can do is understand this: bad decisions, bad consequences. Good, and he's laughing. Good decisions, good consequences. Now, occasionally we'll get cross wires and there'll be a bad decision, but the attitude is there. It's like, well, I made the error, I made the bad call, now I've got to get better. That's essentially what it's going to take for you to develop a business if you're unable to go on the tools and bail yourself out. But I tell you what, when I come to this country, people said to me, so I was originally from Queensland, people said to me, oh, so do you still own real estate back home? Do you have businesses? And I'm like, no, I burned the boats. So my attitude was there is no option, there is no plan B. I've got to make plan A work. And really that just because, you know what, that's actually easier. I don't have to be always second guessing myself of where I should go. And so, that's more your mental toughness. And the other thing is, you've got it to that point, you've actually got to develop your own leadership capabilities, which really that is the foundation of you doing all of those individual things that I just mapped out. I hope that helps and didn't confuse you. But again, look, guys and girls, if you've got a question, I urge you not to go and send me a novel if you can avoid it. Just one question in the subject line, but email me, max@businessforbuilders.ca. I'm sure that'll be in the bio. And so, fill your boots and just, be patient with me. I love to get back. There's probably guys and gals in the audience right now where I've, bounced a few emails back. I even got on the phone to one of you guys, had a chat with Jacob this week. So that was awesome. So I really want to help wherever I can. I'm just one guy, so you just got to be a bit patient. So, righto, next one, what we got?
Helmet Head asked, would you say to have a smaller, manageable amount of guys, or would you say go as big as your workload?
No. Okay. So what I would say, first thing I would say is always run a man short. That's a principle I've spoken about before. But what I would ask you, Helmet Head, is what size business do you want? Like, are you trying to build $1 million business because your mum said you're good at it and you should do it, but you don't feel it inside? Or is your mum saying you should just, you and another guy and that's it, and do $250,000 in sales and that's it? Whereas your burn is to build a $5 million custom home business, right? So this all comes down to your own, your decision-making process around what you want to do and what you enjoy doing, because that's got to be in place as well. You got to understand, what type of person you are, and then go and pursue it. And I would just say one step at a time. And I wouldn't give you any advice around, how quickly you should grow, because like I just finished saying, you can be too top heavy, have too much labor. What I would say is that if you're doing custom homes, you need very little on-site staff. Now, you're going to need some admin and some maybe accounts and things. You're going to need an office nanny. But if you do renos, you're going to need more guys. You're going to need a general renovation carpenter and maybe a carpenter's helper. And so that way you can, have them do a lot of the bullshit demolition and framing and all that sort of stuff. And then they go and doing dump runs because you can save a bit of money on your debris disposal and things like that. Whereas in new homes, it's all about speed because we're so governed on price. So our profit margins are this big and we've got this much time. So the more I can get contracted out, the more I can set up my Gantt chart, and the more scheduling I can get done, the more POs I can get, the more efficiency I've got in my build process. That determines how much money I make. So it's a very different beast. So it does depend on if you're putting groups together, what are we talking about? When you put groups together, is it because you're doing renos or you're doing new homes? Like I don't know where you're at. So you're a carpenter. Like I had 15 carpenters working for me. That's the quickest way to lose money. Trust me, I know that for a fact. Next question. Hope that helps.
So this guy has
That was Helmet Head again, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy.
This guy has a bunch of questions as a paragraph. So I'll break it
down.
down.
Him. Just give me one at a time.
And if just answer him quick, we'll just roll through
Righto.
them.
Okay, I'll be as quick as I can. You know that's a challenge for me.
Seth Riley asked, how successful were you during the first year being a GC, if you don't mind me asking?
Thanks for the question, Seth. I hope they get a little bit easier than this one. Look, I would say, much like I referred to the apprentice, when you're an apprentice, if I was to hire a first year apprentice and you said, well, how much money are you going to make in the first year? I'll go lose money. I lose money. And I explained this last time. This would have been episode on Facebook. Do we have an episode where I talked about the line? Remember this thing? Okay, so what happens is
below zero.
Here's zero, right? You're here. You're going to spend money and you're going to go below zero. And then there's a certain amount of time that you're going to have to cover before you start going back up and breaking into profit. So, and because I don't know you as a person, how can I I can't predict for you, but for me, I found it a struggle because I had come off the tools. When I got a builder's license in 2009, I bought a Smith & Sons franchise on July 1st, I think 2010. I'd literally had my builder's license 12 or 13 months and I was like into it. And so it was the learning curve, dude, was just crazy. And so for me, it was just a big challenge up front. So I look at all my group, my guys, and they go through something similar because it is a massive change, right? There's the good part about Smithies is that you do join forces with a company that has a business in a box, so to speak, and you've just got to jump in the race car and drive it. So, maybe I wasn't the best builder and there was other guys that would actually go faster than me, but there was other guys that were doing a lot worse than me as well. So, You know, I know in my second year I did something like $1.6 million in sales. So not bad. You know, that was my second year. That's a stat I can tell you for sure.
So
hope that helps. Seth, what's next?
This isn't really a question. It's just
Part
a little bit
two
of
for Seth.
Yeah, backstory.
What a greedy little sucker.
I know.
Right.
Me and my pops have been open as a GC for 6 months and have done 175K. Obviously not take home. Also going to school to get my dry out certifications currently so we can get all sides of work. Any advice for a son that is being trained to take over my father's GC company, currently a laborer?
Yeah, look, you got to learn a lot of learning to do. Like, you don't understand the dynamics that go, you know, into running a building company. And the problem is when old dogs like your pop and maybe me is that we probably make it look easier because we've got some level of emotional maturity and we're so well rehearsed. Like if I asked you, was it Seth? Yeah, how long Pop had been into it? You'll probably tell me 25 years, like, or more. So you look at what he's doing today and you want to expedite and you want to be the right guy to take over the biz. But, you know, the thing is you've got so much to learn. And if you're only a labourer, you know, for me to get my builder's license, it was a crazy technical qualification that I had to get. And I'd already done 16 years worth of carpentry and I had carpentry joinery tickets. And so, you know, like, you know, you've got to enjoy the process. Please don't say you're doing it because dad's making a shitload of money or pop's making a shitload of money and I want to drive a Lambo. Like, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. I literally, like, if this whole Smith & Sons thing came down, I'd go back to being a builder in a heartbeat. Done. Not even a question. I just love to build and I love to make clients happy and I love business. So I'm a bit of an entrepreneur as well. So I don't know that I can give you anything specific, but you're doing some technical studies. Just watch your burnout. Because, you know, being young, you know, you want to go and party and, you know, you're not going to be, I kind of live and, dream and eat the business. Like, it's stupid. The amount of time that I spend in this office and the amount of time, you know, I was a little bit ill this morning. Note to self, people, don't take 4 T3 Tylenols in 4 hours for a toothache because you will wake up in a really bad way. It actually kind of feels worse than a hangover. So, you know, like for me, I still made it into work and you can ask my team, I was lying on the couch because I'm like, I can't be upright for more than a couple of hours. So, Seth, I hope that helped you out, man. You know, like I said, set the email where you're bombing one question because here's the deal. You're not going to solve this in one TikTok live or one Insta live. You're not going to get it in one question. Dude, this is an evolutionary type process. You change, the business changes, your understanding, your paradigms, they change. So I can't possibly give you, and this is part of the benefit with joining forces with Smithies, is that I watch my guys and my team grow and I walk with them, you know, step by step, very custom. Because they have these epiphanies, these aha moments where I can tell they've got it, like something that they might have felt challenged with, like software or, you know, creating change orders or whatever, or doing sales and charging for quotes or, doing quotes with big markups. All of a sudden one day as they come to me and go, Max, I just won a job and I had a 45% markup and there's like $30,000 worth of profit. I'm going to do it in 6 weeks. Good on you. That's what I'm talking about. So, yeah, let's go. Next question. Good on you, Seth. Thanks for stopping by.
VDNXM.
He's back again.
Yep.
I'm going to start calling him VD for short, and that's not cool.
Yeah. What's the typical profit margins for a spec home?
25 to 28% profit margin percentage, not markup. So please don't, because markup and margin, two different things. Episode number, I've got a podcast for you on the Business for Builders podcast. Check it out. Listen to that every morning. Episode 81, I talk about the difference between markup and margin. So you just asked me, what was the question? What the margin was?
Typical profit margin.
Margin, right. Profit margin is not markup. So be careful. Go and educate yourself around the difference between those two. Plenty of YouTube stuff. Like I said, our episode number 81 is going to be a great place to start. And just maybe that'll blow your mind. Yeah, leave me some love on the old podcast as well.
We need some comments and some likes on there.
Yeah, let's get it going on. Yep. Help me out. Okay, what's next?
Helmet head.
This is a trifecta for helmet head.
Yeah.
Let's go.
When did you start your own business in construction and what was your first construction job?
Okay, so like because I got that apprenticeship with a builder who was he's a super good guy, hard worker, but he really wanted me off his payroll and onto a contract arrangement. The problem was that he had me on a contract arrangement as a third-year apprentice. Now, remember I just said before that my man pushed me hard and said, you just make sure you're worth something before you start talking and making any demands at all. And my boss was always telling me, think of the money. So what he did is he came to me when I was a third-year apprentice and said, Mark Ryan wants to go framing, but he needs someone to work for him. I'm going to put you with Mark and pay you 30% of the contract. And I could literally drive you to that street and show you the house that I built with Mark Ryan, with Rhino, we used to call him. And that would have been my first. I'm like, I'm there. I've arrived, and I was a third year, right? That's why the first 2 years you're not really that valuable. But to me, that's why I go, well, as a third year. He was happy to put me with a full-blown journeyman carpenter, and he was going to give me 30% of the contract. Boy, and baby, I am into it. So I hope that that was really the moment in time where I've arrived. So then I start buying tools, and I get big eyes now because I'm like, I can make a shit ton of money. And then as quickly as I made it, I freaking spent it. But I had a guitar. Hope that helps.
Nathan asked, how do you do progress payments?
G'day, Nath. Okay. It's super easy if you're doing fixed price contracts, Nath. Mate, I'm going to assume you're doing cost plus, because if you were doing fixed price, you would not probably ask me this question. So first thing is, we don't do cost plus. We do, because the reason the cost plus guys ask me this is because they don't have a breakdown. They start with this, altruistic kind of rough contract or, value or build cost. But for us, we hang our hat on a number. So we say, righto, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, it's going to cost you 100 grand or 75, 80 grand for this kitchen reno. Bang. And then in the contract, we've got, we call a progress payment schedule. So it breaks it down into claim stages. So we might get a down payment on contract signing, and that might be 15, 20%. It just comes down to the cost spikes in the project based on how long it's going to take. So that's how, and then basically once we hit those milestones within the project, we can then issue an invoice. As per the claim schedule in the fixed price contract, we have reached the demolition stage or the drywall stage or the paint. It's very similar to custom home type project where we put milestones in and we want that payment. And those payments have got to be calculated in accordance with what it costs you to build. You don't want to be, what I tell my guys is always have a bow wave of cash. And, like a boat pushing through the water, you want to make sure you're building up a bow wave of cash. Not too much, because you'll get a bow wave of cash off a few jobs, and then you'll think you can go and buy yourself a new jet ski or some dumb shit like that. And then your bills are going to come in, because subcontractors are the worst at getting invoices in on time. And then all of a sudden you're like, I haven't got enough money to pay the bills, but I've got a really cool jet ski sitting in the garage. Like that's a rookie business builder. So that's kind of, again, it doesn't give you a lot of micro, but it gives you an idea about the mentality and the attitude you should have around, did he kick us back and tell us what he does contract-wise? Didn't make a mention. We got too many comments. We can't keep track. So anyway, hopefully I covered off both sides. Should I make a mention of Germ getting under our feet again or not? Come on, Germ.
Yeah.
You're all right. Okay, next question. Let's go.
Tomman asked, so should I be subcontracting or hiring in-house?
Again, it goes back to, are you doing renos? He didn't say what type of build he was doing.
No.
Yeah, if you're doing renos, a lead carpenter, a carpenter's helper. If you're doing new homes, try and sub it out as much as you can, if not all of it. Maybe one guy if you've got 3 or 4 projects. But I'm not saying you don't have a superintendent and an office admin and an estimator. That's what you might have on a new. So on a new home, you're going to have a lot of off-site overhead, which remember, you can't add them as a cost of goods sold. So you need to be making good money to cover that overhead. That goes into your fixed expenses column to run your business. Whereas if you're doing renos, those guys on site are actually part of the cost of goods sold, because they're actually in there doing demolition, doing reframing, or whatever the case may be. They're almost like a subcontractor, but they're working for you full time. So again, it's the challenge is both.
Adam has a pretty skookum question.
Righto, Adam. Take it easy.
Can your next podcast be about how to start a construction company, but briefly go through it, please?
Okay. Have we got an episode that leans to that yet, or not really?
How to start?
Yeah, how to start. Go into some great detail.
We have a playlist on our YouTube.
How to start?
4 episodes about starting up your company.
Right. There's 4 episodes on Business and Builders YouTube. Oh, I forgot his name already.
Adam.
There's a playlist which is called, what's the playlist called? Starting Up Your Contracting. And dude, there's only so many questions that my audience can ask me, and we do end up rotating around the same info. So what we will do is we'll keep adding to that playlist. But we've got these questions logged. So just make note of that one. That maybe we'll focus on another video around how doing a startup. And I'm assuming he's going to come from a totally beginning platform. Not I've been around it for 10 years and I want to actually have a crack. So, we'll definitely, and, we'll keep track of that question. Let's go. Next one.
McCallum asks, I'm going to be starting a storage unit business. Do you think you'll be able to help me get started?
You know what? There's something about a storage business which is a shit ton easier to run than a GC business or a contracting business. Wow. Look, I think your biggest challenge is going to be competition. I honestly think that it is a fairly straightforward business. It doesn't have a lot of moving parts, unlike my franchise business, which is bullshit complicated. Holy mackerel. I think depending on, I'd love to know if he'd just come up with that idea or whether it's not. He's been sitting on it for a while. You're going to need bags of money too, dude, because you've got to go and develop that whole environment. You've got to put roads through, you've got to build storage centers. And I'm not going to do a deep dive on, you've got to do a feasibility study. That's what you're going to do. And it's going to cost you money. It'll probably cost you 10 grand to see whether or not you can actually afford to do it. So that'll normally that's like disqualifying retail clients. They go, Max, I want you to do me a quote. And I'm like, hang on a minute, here's a price range. But if we go to a quote, it's probably going to cost you $500 for me to do a quote. And they're like, what? That means there's so you're going to have to spend money to figure out whether you think there's even some potential to make money. So I want you to go and do your FISO first, and then hit me up on email, max@businessforbuilders.ca, and we can maybe jam a little bit more, dude. But I like to stay in my lane. I'm construction and I'm franchising and I'm a general contractor and I'm a carpenter by trade. I kind of don't want to be a business consultant in that scope. Although if you and I were just shooting the shit at a barbecue, I would give you some advice. It might be worth what you just paid for it, as we're 3 cans in or whatever. So what you need to do is just start searching, do some feasibility, like really do some spreadsheeting. It's probably the first time I've ever backed a spreadsheet, but really try and figure out what your liability is going to be and how much upfront capital you're going to need.
The Forest and I asked,
back.
Do you have a GC in Ontario?
No, I do not. I'm in communication with a couple, but no, man, I don't want to be my first.
Yeah.
Got to do a call to action. So, dude, there's so much opportunity in GTA. It's crazy. So, we actually backed out of, we just advertised in BC and Alberta because, I couldn't get on a plane. And I'm not going to get into that discussion. I mean, I think I can now. I think I can get on a plane now. So, it's back on again. We're actually open, ready to go into the States too. Our legal counsels in New Jersey and our accountants in Texas. And we're literally ready to go. But it's just, we've just paused that for a minute. So I don't want to be on a 12-hour drive. That's what I want, because I'm the front man to work with these new GCs. But, mate, I really appreciate you asking. But do hit me up on an email if you want more info, max@businessforbuilders.ca, and we can chat a little bit more. Let's go. Thanks for the question.
C Does It asks, what's your advice on concrete patching and rendering?
Ring your local concrete or finisher and ask them, dude. That's a game, actually, believe it or not, where there's a lot of the science and some of the techniques around that is developing. So, you don't want to be talking to me. I mean, like, I could, again, if we're a few cans deep into a barbecue, I could shoot the shit. I've pushed around enough grey sloppy shit in my time. Look, it's not for me to really give you that, because I don't know whether you're quoting on a job and you're going to rely on my advice, or whether you've got an issue with an existing client, or whether I don't know the context. So what I'm actually concerned about is your level of liability. What's your exposure? What's your vulnerability? Because if my advice breaks you, you're going to friggin' hate me, and I got enough people hating me. I don't need to keep adding to that shit. So that's my response to that.
Nathan asks, is it better to do project as an hourly rate or a fixed quote?
No, I absolutely want. I must have what's the fixed price? What's the name? A podcast for fixed price.
There's a few. I can put a few
Yep.
there.
Yeah. So look, fixed price. The reason is that's the one where I talked about where if you budget in a job for $10,000 worth of lumber and you short order, let's say $8,000 worth, and it was good enough to do the job because I estimated, educational estimate, that's what I do, and I might have added a little cushion or a contingency, and I only used $8,500 worth of material, then I've actually increased my gross profit by $1,500, right? Now, conversely, if you're a bad estimator or you didn't realize something was up and you forgot all the studs in the basement or something crazy, then you're going to spend, 14 grand and you're going to take a hit. So I'm not saying that there is more risk, I would say, but I know that our markups as opposed to the markups in renos are actually a lot greater than they are in cost plus because you're doing transparency. So there's no risk to you. For me, the builder who's the professional on fixed price, I take the risk. I expect to be paid at a premium level. So that's why, that's sort of how I make that work. Thanks for your question. Next one.
Blue Forms Official asked, should I get into a partnership with big sharks? Please, I need the advice.
You know what? Here's a funny story. I don't know, and I actually didn't talk to you guys about this. We had I don't know if you guys are familiar. Chime in if you want to. We had Lad Bible reach out to us, and they wanted to go to contract for some of our creative, which that just blows my friggin' mind because I got like 12 million followers on Insta or TikTok or whatever it is. But for me, that there was too much. We're just getting started. We're just getting warmed up. We are delivering a lot of value to our audience, and I don't want to give up control. Now, I always came through. My boss, who I did my apprenticeship with, he wasn't a big fan of partnerships, so I automatically adopted that attitude. But here I am building this franchise business out of Canada, British Columbia, Canada, which we're ready to go into the States, like I said. But I have 3 business partners, and I absolutely could not do it without them. And so, but I've had some, I was a franchised operator with Smith & Son, so I got to know the big sharks. If you don't know the big sharks, I don't know Lad Bible, and I read through that 12-page contract, and I'm like, yeah, we're not ready to go there yet. So it comes down to intuition and research, like I was talking about, I don't know who I was talking to about doing your feasibility on it. And then, listen to your heart. And, there's something about, I've got such autonomy here. It really does suit me because I'm running my own show, but, I'm answerable to 3 kick-ass business partners. But, I have that autonomy where if it is to be, it's all up to me. And I've got to report back. So it's a really good balance for me. So, but I know those guys, they know me. There's a lot of trust, right, that's needed. So no problems getting into business with a big dog. But you just got to make sure that you got open lines of communication. You understand what you're getting into. And once you're in there, don't complain because you signed up. The end. Next question. Hope that helps. What's that? Lad Bible?
Yeah, they have like 6 million on TikTok.
They DM'd us. They caught us on, I think they caught us on Insta. And then they went across to TikTok and then they DM'd us on Insta, didn't they?
I think they found us on TikTok and then went to Instagram and sent us a DM.
So man, they are huge.
It's kind of crazy to see to know that they found our content and we're looking at it,
Yeah, I don't know what caught their eye, but they wanted to lock and load me on a contract. And
maybe
I'm
it
like,
was the appliance video.
The appliance video. That's crazy. Where's that at? Is that 350 views now?
330.
That's crazy. Crazy.
Or it was the cigarette video, but either way.
I should bring out the cigarettes and show people that I've still got them.
Yeah.
Maybe I should smoke one.
Yeah.
No, I ain't doing that shit. Okay, next question. What do we got?
Northman Contracting asks, what's your take on training guys with 0 work experience in construction, but show up on time, ask questions, and do what you ask of them?
So what we're talking about is always that variation. You get some guys who have got really good skills, but they're pricks. They got stinking attitudes. Their ego's up here. Their humility's down here, and they're just pieces of shit to work with or have working for you. But you go, boy, they put out some good work. Now, then there's the flip side, which you just outlined, Northman Construction. Contracting, my bad. And, a lot of that is got to do with, okay, I can fix systems, I can't fix dudes. And so, I just, if they don't play well with the other boys and girls, and I did cop a hiding, about my whole hire quickly, fire quickly if they don't fit the company culture deal. I got destroyed over that as well, but I'm seeming to make a bit of a habit of it lately. I think that there's some benefit there, but you can't, again, the flip side of this is you're not a charity, Northman Contracting. You're not a charity. So you're not there to subsidize someone else's incompetence. So you've got to get to that. You might get to the point, or 2 things will happen. Good attitude, low skills, you teach them. Over a period of time, they then start developing good skills to match the good attitude. That's a really good outcome, but you're going to invest a lot in them. Like I said, apprentices will cost you money for the first 2 years. Like, you'll be lucky to really even go close to making a dime. But if you have the wrong guy, because what happens is normally the guy that you've got in who's a wicked carpenter, let's say, but he doesn't play well with the other boys and girls, he'll make it super difficult for you to bring on more team because he sees them as a threat because his ego's out of control and his humility is not in check. And so what you find is it's super difficult to, really balance those books because you know he puts out good work, but I can't build a team around him because he's not a team player. So, look, I hope that little breakdown, again, that's just my 2 bobs worth, and that's just me shooting the shit. Go.
Yo Dad 06.
Yo Dad 06.
This is a statement, not really a question.
Okay.
Can't wait to start my apprenticeship with this carpentry union. My main goal is to get my license and open up my own business.
Yeah, well, look, best of luck. All I would say is that, dream big, start small, focus on really becoming a good practitioner, like a good carpenter or whatever you're doing in your apprenticeship. And then just, maintain a high level of positivity. I understand that we've got to be realistic, but, sometimes negative Nellies just never win. It's impossible. If negative Nellies won, we wouldn't be on the moon. If negative Nellies won, we wouldn't have internet. Like all this, you've got to be innovative. So you've got to think creatively and you've got to be optimistic and you've got to be able to take the punches in the mouth because the construction business is just, it's bullshit brutal. And unfortunately, if you want to sit there and make excuses, it will just puke you out. So, I hope that helps. But good luck to you, Mr. or Mrs. What was the name of that one?
Yo Dad.
Yo Dad. Yeah, just all the best. Yeah, just stay on it. Keep working hard. Next one.
Helmet Head asked, would you get a red seal for carpentry?
Yes.
100%.
I just would. It's because that's what I did. It worked for me, dude. Like, I don't know how I should do it. I think building the credentials is good because it starts giving you the technical aspect. And I had no choice if I wanted to be a builder. And that was just a crazy certificate for. That was a difficult thing for me to do. And I probably should have done it earlier. But, I didn't. So I had to push through it at the back end to get it. So start with red seal carpentry. Absolutely. That'll be a great foot forward. And then just start watching builders around you and start asking questions, hassle the shit out of them. And, just look at the averages. Look at what's common good, what's common bad, and figure shit out on the fly, within yourself. Go, next one.
Nicholas asked,
Nicholas.
We do both new builds and renos. We do everything. I keep being told to focus. What's the best way? I'm not quite sure.
Righto.
Focus on one or the other, maybe?
Yeah, look, so what I'd say is, we get a lot of, what do you call it? We try and focus. A lot of guys will say, well, I do everything. I specialize in everything. No job too big or small. We're, as you can see the sign, you can't see the sign. It says Smith & Sons Remodeling Experts, and so there's a reason we picked that niche is because it's such a technical execution to deliver. And we talked about, reinventing the whole process or re-engineering the clients, both sales and construction process. We took a very clinical view, a very systemized view, a very, very military view of how we want to deliver at the highest level. And we basically overlaid that with a franchise business model. So look, I'm not against it. It's doable, but understand this. If you go and recruit crew to work on renos and then you go and do custom homes, you might find that you've not got enough work for those guys. And then you go and pick up a reno and you're like, I just let the guys go because I got these 2 custom homes. So yeah, hopefully that, again, that was a bit of a broad shot. Hopefully that makes some sense. Appreciate the question. What's next?
Seth asked, do you ever work with insurance companies?
Yeah, I got one of my guys that's a bit of a ninja when it comes to insurance companies, but again, they're a business. You are still dealing with the client. You just need to tread carefully because there's a lot of restoration companies out there that do that for real. You talk about a niche, they're restoration groups. That's what they do. They don't do renos. They don't do custom homes. They are restoration. That's their heavy duty niche. So we've had people reach out. We've had companies reach out and say, hey, would you quote on some, insurance work? And we sort of, I let my guys have the lead, but I'm like, just keep your ears up and your tail up because they're always wanting to give the client the least amount of value because that costs them less, which means they don't eat into their coffers or their profit pool or their treasure chest to pay this insurance claim out. And so they want us to then really, take down the level of quality. And then our brand's trying to represent bougie, boutique, white glove, top shelf. and it doesn't mesh gears, right? So they're a business, yep. So they're looking at bottom line, and it doesn't really their methodology doesn't really mesh with ours. So that's just my view.
Daniel asked, "What's your thoughts on steel versus timber framing for residential build?"
That's awesome. Daniel, is it?
Daniel Foster.
I reckon Daniel Foster is in Victoria. I would be, or he's on the Goldie, maybe in Brisbane or something like that. It's funny you asked that question because, all my time basically was spent doing timber frame, and then we got in with a company that did steel frame houses, and holy smokes, did it change some shit up. And that's 10 years ago or more. Probably 15 years ago when I first seen my first steel frame, and I think the technology, and this is why I say that shit changes. The technology's come so far. So obviously you can imagine plumbers were just valve bouncing about how they frigging hated steel frames. Electrician, because how am I supposed to drill holes if I need new ones? And then I've got to put grommets in. And how do I just, pin my little wire saddles to the studs? Now I've got to screw it. And then don't get me started on drywallers. They frigging hated it as well. And then I talk about roofers, putting their straps or their battens on. Yeah, Daniel Foster just said he's in Victoria. Nailed it. That's my second little moment. And so, but now that we're 10, 15 years down, like it's become an accepted thing because it is probably a more efficient way of building. We don't have a shitload of offcuts and things. So it's just a matter of getting that trade. And of course the framing. I've done about 3 steel frames and I freaking hated every single one of them. But what I did do a shit ton of was fix outs for Daniel, because he's an Aussie, was for fix outs. So second fix if you're in North America. And then I did all the soffits, and I'd put windows in and would do all the hardy board on the outside and everything like that. So yeah, I never made so much money doing the second fix or the fix out or the carpentry finishing and the exterior was what I did on steel frames. So I don't even know if that answered the question, but that was just a bit about my experience. So
you just asked what your thoughts were.
Yep, cool. That's my thoughts, Daniel. Nailed it. Hang on, before we leave, Daniel, tell me who you're back in the AFL, mate. Please don't tell me you're back Collingwood. I'll literally ban you from the business for builders. No, I won't do that. It's okay. Just watch for Daniel's response. I want to know who he backs in the AFL. Righto, who's next?
Atune asked, do I get land and build or buy into a multifamily?
Well, depends. Is he asking as a builder or is he asking as an investor? How much money does he got? Has he got a dad that's a builder and he's been in construction since he was 2 seconds old? Like, that's a really super difficult one for me to answer. So I'm gonna have to pass on that one, man. If you can give us more detail and come back around, and I'll try and get that. Hopefully we're keeping up with TikTok and Insta.
Oh, we got one left.
Okay, this is good. It is Friday afternoon here. It's almost beer o'clock, folks.
The Forest and I asked, how do you handle non-payment due to damage?
Oh, well, okay. So there's, I don't know if I'm going to nail this, but like there's clients that'll tell us, I want to supply my own vanity and toilet suite and my bath and blah, blah, blah. And I say, we're not doing it. Because what happens is they buy it, put it on my building site. My carpenter accidentally drops a skill saw or something on it, a power saw, and it damages the bath. And the client looks at me and says, you're fixing it. And I'm like, yeah, no, you provided it. You purchased it. That's your risk that you take. You want to save the profit, you take on the warranty and the liability. Now, not sure that I don't know how the damage occurred. So I don't know if it was damage to the builder. So Forrest and I's, drywall. I have got no context. I can't really make a judgment call on it. How to handle non-payment due to damage. Yeah, too hard to call. I don't have any. I need more info.
That one.
Hey,
jump over that one.
Yeah, we'll have to, mate. I'm just going to close this out because I've got a flat battery almost. Daniel Foster just replied, he's a Magpies born and brainwashed. Collingwood, are you freaking shitting me? That's 2 from 2. That was the team. We're going to have to ban him. Like, he can't be on. No, that's cool, man. That's cool. Right, so it was honestly, so the Forrest and I just said it was a generic question. Yeah, it really comes down. So, okay, let's go back to that, where I said, it might help you in the quoting process, especially if you get the lead quantities. I provided $48 million worth of inquiry to one of my guys from June 1 last year to May 9th this year. $48 million. Now, he was able to do large builds and things like that. And so, you know, for me, if I'm going to have a shit ton of clients to quote with, I don't want to be dicking around having them supplying stuff. So it's an immediate disqualifier if they're 100% committed going, no, I want to supply my bath and whatever else is involved. Like if I build a new home for someone, nobody supplies shit. We do it all, right? So in renos, what? They're trying to save money. What they want to do is save paying me the profit, and then they want me to take on the warranty. Nah, it doesn't happen. I'm just not doing it. I'm not even going to say I'm not responsible because it always ends up in a shit fight. And then you go back to, what is it, Tree and I, and he's basically saying non-payment due to damage. Well, you got yourself a shit fight. So, mate, I hope that helps. That's, I wouldn't go there. I would either put them in the suspense file or I would basically put them in the not proceeding file. Quick shout out to Rion Patterson, sitting in Brizzy Airport. You heading home, mate? Rion must be heading back to
Rion.
Back to Auckland.
Oh, I just completely missed that. I'm like, oh, somebody's just watching at the airport.
Right, so I just got to. Yeah, I don't want to jump ahead. You guys are monitoring the questions.
We got it.
What do you got? What's the next one?
How many Smiths are there in Australia?
Look, I don't know. Rion could probably chime in. I think Rion's got about 26. Maybe there's 75 in Australia. I'm just pulling a number out of my butt a little bit. But let's say, you know, between 65 and 75. And I think there is, Rion can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's about 25, 26 in New Zealand, brew. All the Kiwis out there, give us a thumbs up. But they're a good bunch of folks. Righto, next question.
Did you see what the Force and I said?
No,
I'll be in contact about that GC in Ontario.
right. Awesome, man. Cool. I'll have to get to know your real name one time. So, someone else, I think, asked for an email on Insta. That was McCallum, and he's asked, what is your email for me to contact you? So
yeah, we're typing it in.
What? Okay.
It's in
you did? You did already? All right. Anyway, so it's
okay.
So it's max@businessforbuilders.ca. So what else?
We got.
Let's get one in Southern Ontario. Bloody oath. Let's do that. Let me get on a plane. I haven't been on a plane for like 3 years. So it'd be good talking to you, Forrest and I. Finally get that mask off.
Yeah.
Meet the legend, the myth, the man. Maybe it's a woman. I don't know. Because Forrest is not anything. Okay, what's next? We got an Aaron. Is that what that is?
We just got
Aaron.
We got.
Yeah, and I say it wrong because I'm an Aussie. Sorry, Aaron. My bad. Sweet as. What else?
Helmet Head asked, do you have a generic costing for doing a new build?
Look, I tell you what, you know, one of my business partners owns a very, very large building company, let's say, and they're franchised, ironically enough, and they do about $1.9 billion in sales in 3 countries, Australia, New Zealand, and the States. And they're very much got, you know, this list of, you know, 500 plans, and they're very much in the show home type business. You know, as far as custom homes, just give me the question again. I've lost context. I was talking about GJ too much.
Do you have a generic costing for doing a new build?
Look, I think the best thing that you can do, because I don't know your location, what you have to do is you have to get costings from your location. That is from your vendors, but also from, from your subcontractors. So, because, you know, if I was to give you one, maybe I've developed that over a period of 10 years and it's relevant in my area, but it's not relevant in yours. Maybe I've got a skookum, deal on lumber that you haven't got. So, I tell you what I do have, and I know someone, and I talked about this a while ago or somewhere, maybe the last TikTok, about getting a resources tab on the businessforbuilders.ca, which we have not done, but someone, bless you, someone got a bug in our ears a day or so ago and said, how are we going with that, resources tab? And so what I'm thinking about putting up there and just giving that shit away for free is the estimating checklist. And so that might help you design a template. I wouldn't say that's a template. I would say that's a checklist. But I'm telling you, there is no easy street, because I have franchised operators that are general contractors that all have their little different tilt on how they want to go about estimating, because we estimate in accordance with our understanding and our experience. So my understanding and experience is going to really dictate an estimating process different from someone that just did their estimating, did their time as a carpenter only. I did it with the builder straight away. Even though we're both qualified carpenters, we're going to have a distinctly different understanding on how to go and build stuff. And I would say all the time that I recommend being able to build it in my head, and I build the estimate accordingly. But that's because I've got a lot of frontline experience and I've seen a lot of construction in my 33, 34 years. So I hope that helps.
We have a question from Matt.
Right.
What's your thoughts on a 20 to 30% deposit as a concreter when jobs are only a few days long and installment payments don't quite work?
No, and I think any jobs that are 2 or 3 days down, like this is a classic for the cabinet makers in our ecosystem. They want 50% up front, they want 40% on delivery, and they want 10% on completion. Now, I think that you could probably do, what was the name of the guy with that one?
Matt.
That was Matt. Right. So, yeah, I don't agree. I do agree that installments don't work because the timeline is so small. The problem is when our projects are minimum 3 months, dude, I need some cash flow, otherwise the lights are going out. But a 3-day project, like seriously, I'd get 150% down. Make sure you got shit sorted out, hustle, get it done quick, and then get the final payment. Now, I think that might be a more of an applicable way to do an installment program, which consists of a down payment on signing of contract and then the final 50% on completion. But you've got to make sure, Matt, that it covers your materials and your labor, because I don't expect you having to wait too long. If you're getting payment at the back end, like some clients might say, well, why would I give you 50%? It's like, well, why not? What am I going to pay you? You're going to pay me 25 and make me wait for 75? I don't think so. Not on 3 days. Like, I'm done and dusted. I don't have to wait for my money for that long. So hopefully that helps, Matt. Cheers for the question.
What's one thing regarding your construction business that you wish you knew sooner?
How bloody hard it was going to be. Seriously, it's like how much learning. This business is not. I thought it was hard, learning to be a carpenter. I thought it was hard getting a builder's license. Well, all that shit's turned out to be the easiest stuff that I could do to run a business. And what it comes down to is your ability to learn more, therefore you can earn more, but your leadership capabilities as well. And so, I would say that, becoming the best operator that you can be, the best leader of men and women that you can be, the most humble, individual operator that you can be, at the same time as having a healthy ego. I think you've got all of those things really, and it's success is an inside job. The battle for you is the 6 inches between your ears, right? That's where you're going to struggle the most, right? Because your self-talk gets negative. All of a sudden you have a shit fight going on building sites, and you're like, you question yourself, have I got the capability? So that's where the fight's going to be. What's next?
We are out of questions. If anybody has any.
Few
statements.
Yeah, I noticed there's a bit more there from Forrest and I, yeah.
Yeah, Vic Santana from Instagram said, I do 35% down and the rest when the project is completed.
Okay, I'd be interested to know how long that project takes. But if let's say it's 3 days, that works.
Yeah.
Yep.
Helmet Head said, I'm from the UK, so here's very different. All advice is appreciated.
Yeah, appreciate it, mate. Look, yeah, I know there's so much. I've seen it firsthand going from Australia to here. Holy dolly. There's some adapting to go on. What's next?
And the Forrest and I said, I find a lot of guys get held up on waiting 90 days for payments from builders.
Yeah, dude, it's like, geez. I don't know what the excuse is. Like, if you can't pay your guys twice a month, this is on the 15th and the 30th. When I was running a building company, there is a question there from Vic Santana, 96. Is that the one you just read? Righto, thanks, Vic. This is why if I had to go back into building tomorrow, this is how it would be. You invoice on the 1st, you get paid on the 15th. You invoice on the 15th, you get paid on the 30th. That's it. That's as simple as it is. This whole 90 days bullshit, that means, to me, that's a red flag. If I was back in my carpentry days, I'm like, see you later, brother, because I would rather go broke sitting on the frigging beach sipping martinis watching the sun go down than work for that asshole and then him go broke at 45 days and can't pay me. Forget it. And I've just worked my ass off and I've paid all my guys and I get caught short. Forget about it. 2 weeks. Like, I'll work 2 weeks, invoice on the 1st of the month, let's say, and wait the 15th, and now I'm in the system. The most you should wait is 4 weeks on the first invoice, but after that, every 2 weeks. Boom. And my guys used to love that. That was predictable. Once they got in the groove, all good. Are we done?
We got a couple more.
Right. We're about to shut up shop here, folks.
Yeah.
Like, the beer is cold.
Yeah. Balix asks, what do you think about a company having 1 qualified carpenter and 2 apprentices?
Now, I would ask the question, I don't know where Balix is from, but I know that there was let's say a journeyman carpenter to apprentice ratio, and it might have been 2 to 1. So you just got to have your head on your shoulders. If you are that guy, then you're going to need to make sure that you don't overdo yourself as far as your obligation. And I'm pretty sure there's some
from Cairns.
They're from Cairns, righto. So you're in Queensland, righto. definitely look that up. Really look into employment standards. Looks like there's a hello there from New Zealand. And that's from Asher. G'day, Ash. Another Kiwi in the house. I would actually go and do some research online about that. What's the maximum? Look, there's an apprenticeship board in Queensland. I know because I did my time there, right? So ring them and go, hey, I'm a tradie, or if you're an apprentice because you're working with 4 apprentices and you've only got 1 carpenter to look up to, that's a problem. Ring them and just ask them what the ratio is. How many qualified carpenters to apprentices? Is it 2 apprentices to 1 carpenter, or is it 1 to 1? I don't know what it is. But, I know there's definitely a ratio, in the employment side of things that will confirm that for you, Balix. I hope that helps.
Helmet Head asked, do you write on quotations the amount of days they have to pay?
Yeah, look, we have in our contract, which is 13 pages long, just by the way, drawn up by my corporate lawyer, it has a completion date, absolutely. And that completion date can be modified using change orders if it demands that. But, yes, we do have a completion date, and it scares a lot of my guys. But the thing is here, we use it as a point of difference because nobody else does. Now, when I say to the guys, use the software, map the timelines out, be super conservative, allow a lot of time for certain things within reason. Don't be a spastic about it and, allow, 6 months to tile the bathroom or something stupid. Just make sure that you've got time allotted. And then what happens is you set the date which they like. They go, that's awesome. And then you finish a month ahead and you look more awesome. Yeah, you look even better, right? So then all of a sudden it's like now you want to, we talk about turning them into raving fans. So when you get to the back end, you finished a month ahead of contract on budget, like awesome. Yeah, I'll give you a video. Yeah, I'll give you a 5-star Google review. Of course. And I'm going to tell my buddies when they hit the deck here and start drinking piss, like how good you are. Like, see what I'm saying? Yeah, so so the answer is yes, I do. The elongated answer machine.
BVI 87s asked, carpenter of 16 years of experience, should I do a Cert 4 or go through a RPL to get my license?
Yeah, righto. So look, I think challenging the course, I reckon that's an Aussie. I would say.
But Cert 4 is in Australia.
Yeah, so but it's an Aussie thing. So, he could be in Queensland as well. But, I actually thinking about getting my builder's license here. One of my guys in the group is going to go for his builder's license and he's going to do a recognition of prior learning as well. It's got a slightly different name here, but it's the same thing. I didn't challenge the course. I had 16 years. I was running 15 guys. And I actually went, if he is in Oz, New South Wales, go the Blues, kiss my ass, go the Maroon. Yeah. Right, that's 2 I'm banning today. No, that's cool, man. So what I did is I actually did it via correspondence. So this is answered BV's question. Yep. I would go and talk to master builders about doing it via correspondence. Now, it's a way more convenient thing. It's how I did it. I actually got the application and I bombed it. I didn't even go for it. It was just like too intimidating to go and do night school and shit like that. So I did it via correspondence and it was still hard yakka. Like it was hard, but I got it done. And so, yeah, that's what I would, that's what I recommend doing. Just have a chat with him and don't go for RPL if you can avoid it. If you think you're if you think you're a gangster gunslinger, then fill your boots, give it a shot. But, there's something about the education. Remember, I've got 30 plus years in the game. I come here, I just want to learn more about the building practices and the building sciences. So I would go and do the 7 courses and they're only charging me like $800 a course. I would just go and sit through the education because, for me being this far down, it just makes more sense to get the education because the builder's license was the easiest thing that I ever did. Getting the understanding on how to run a building company, that's going to be your biggest challenge. Righto.
Blessed.
Who?
Blessed asked, early on in your career, did you price your jobs? If so, was it through trial and error?
Yeah, look, I did. Everything was fixed price. I didn't even know the cost plus gig was around until I got to Canada for real. And so, yeah, everything was fixed price. And definitely, like I said, we were 12 months in, even as a franchised operator with Smith & Sons. And my estimator, because I didn't have the systems in place good enough, like he might have made an error, but at the end of the day, I've still got to figure out how we're going to claw that loss back.
That guy's name was Asher, by the way.
Righto, Asher. And so you know, after that we realized that he'd missed $8,500 worth of ceramic tiles, we promptly added, you know, we created a checklist perhaps or whatever we did. But at the end of the day, we had to claw it back. So yes, we did learn how to estimate better off the back of an $8,500 cock up, and we got to learn how to claw back the loss during the rest of construction, because we identified it early, because we run fixed price and we do purchase orders, and everything was quoted. And he went to order ceramic tiles 3 weeks in, couldn't find the allocation. And he come to me cap in hand and said, dude, I've really cocked up. So there you go, mate. So yeah, we do learn. But what I'm trying to do, I think, and we might have to end it here because this is 90 minutes, right, guys and gals? So email me at max@businessforbuilders.ca. This is why I'm doing this, right? And I probably could sit here for a lot longer, but like I said, I'm a little bit ill because I took some T3s, too many of them. But, you know, this is about just having this talk, because I know what it's like to start out, and I made enough cock-ups to sink a battleship, and I'm just like, there has to be a better way. Why do we all have to go through that? You know, you gals can learn from someone like me who's just happy to talk about, you know, the good, bad, and the ugly, and you can really get into a swing and really get into some, you know, get some momentum going that's positive. And, you know, it's really going to be beneficial for you long term. And, you know, I can't buy the satisfaction that comes with, you know, the likes of Asher saying cheers for that. And I got Oakwood Ave, you know, saying thanks for all your advice. You know, like I'm getting pats on the back for doing something in the industry that I love. And I know that that's going to add value to a lot of people's businesses and, of course, their own personal life. So, yeah, that's it. But, guys and girls, I think we're going to shut up shop. It is dead set 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. I appreciate everybody chiming in. And, you know, we've got a whole bunch of likes from a bunch of folks and some action on Instagram as well, which I really appreciate. So go build a kick-ass business. Go and check out the podcast, the Business for Builders podcast. That'll help you on the road. Go and check out the Business for Builders YouTube channel. That'll help you as well when you're sitting at home trying to work out how to do estimates and quotes and how do you charge for quotes and things like that. Go and dig through all that information. If you can put up with my face, you're doing awesome. Bailix just asked you, are you in America? No, we're in British Columbia, just north of the US border, man. So we're very close. So, yep, go build a kick-ass business. And look, we'll see you guys on the next episode and maybe the next live. Peace. Now I've got to learn how to turn this shit off. Yeah. So